Yeah, I just love that musicality of John Denver. You do too, do you?
Yes, I
It's
do
nice,
indeed.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's nice,
Sunshine on
gentle.
my shoulder.
Lovely
Yeah,
thought.
it is a lovely thought, isn't it? You bring this is Joanne Callan of Try the Alternative, and Joanne, of course, is of Destination Newry's Destination Wellbeing, and you can see her program today at 3 o'clock
3 o'clock today.
on
Yes.
Destination Newry, and I do
Yes.
hope you'll manage to catch that. Uh, you were able. I was posing the question, and you had an answer for me.
Well, I think I could be
yeah,
proven wrong in the answer,
I
but I
think you're
think my
right.
answer's right.
Yeah, the full moon out this morning, and it was properly full this morning. The other morning it had a wee bit of a flat head on it.
Well, yeah, I
was
think
ginked a wee bit.
our Irish time, the full moon was at 4:50 this morning or something.
This morning, well, it's a beautiful full moon.
Yeah.
You're very knowledgeable about astronomical matters.
Well, I don't know so much about the astronomical, but I pick up bits and pieces.
Yeah, you do.
The moon does definitely fascinate me because I think it's,
Yeah.
particularly for women, I think women's cycles work very in sync with the moon. So I
Oh,
think it's very
torturous,
important.
torturous, torturous. Goodness gracious. I lived my life with women, 5 daughters, 1 wife.
Yes.
And I know about these things, the happinesses and the sort of...
Yeah. But I think it's not. I think generally as human beings, there's a
do.
connection
We
with the
do.
cycle of the moon.
We do. I find it very, very refreshing when the new moon, to go out my balcony and go, wow! I think it's very good to do that. It's very refreshing and very liberating to do this. It can be cold though.
Yeah.
So you like the moon? Fascinated by the craters on the moon and all that. Oh, the answer you brought me was Jupiter. That's the name of the star. Jupiter?
The planet.
The planet. Yes, it's a planet. It's not a star.
Off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the difference between a planet and a star is the star sustains the planets. Isn't that right?
Well,
And
you
was
learn
it
something new every day.
Copernicus said that the Earth, he was saying that the Earth orbited around the sun, and they were going to kill him for saying that. But of course, he's right, and that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. As we know it now, who knows who'll discover something different.
Yeah. But you know something, when you think of the solar system, it is terribly, terribly simple in a strange way. You have a mother star there, and you're bing, 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 and we're all going round ad infinitum. It's not going to change until the end of all recorded time. And I think that's very jolly. And then somewhere else, when you think there are millions and millions of stars, billions of stars within our own galaxy of the Milky Way. Goodness sake.
It's vast.
Yeah.
And they're all unique and all different.
How would you like to live on Mars? Now, this is interesting because a fellow in Ireland, he's been shortlisted. He's a fellow called Roach he's a professor, and he has applied for it. He's going to, if he's successful, he will go to Mars to live within this lifetime. There's only one problem. You don't get back
Yes,
to
we spoke
Earth.
about this, didn't we?
You know, this is
you don't
awful.
get back. Yeah, no, I think it would be nice to come back.
Yeah, but then they're talking about on Mars you would have internet and you would have download and you would have emails, but that would torture you. If you were getting emails from your loved ones on Earth, people you knew you would never, ever, 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 ever see again, that would be very problematic. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
This is one of those things. But if it's his interest and if he spent his life investigating this, or he's interested in it,
And if he
I'm
feels
sure
he
he's
has done
trying to
everything
be-
else on
that
Earth.
he wants to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you ever get that feeling that you've done everything you want to do on Earth?
Oh no.
No.
No, definitely not. There's a whole world out there to.
Yeah, well, that's
to
the difference.
explore.
That's the difference of 40 years, whatever you're about, what, 25 or 30?
30.
30. So 40, 32, that's 40, 38 years difference. You've still got that catching up to do on me, you see. And that'll be, I sometimes feel, done it, seen it, got the T-shirt and been there, and looking forward to some great new adventure. It would be nice. So, we're talking on the program today about something I can't pronounce.
Craniosacral therapy.
Craniosacral therapy. Craniosacral therapy. What is
There
it?
you go. Basically, it's, and I think like with a lot of therapies, some of them can be very difficult to explain exactly what they are. But the idea behind it is that it's balancing it's bringing the body back into balance, basically, working on the central nervous system and balancing the fine parts of the central nervous system, the spinal cord, the nerves, the cranial nerves at the back of the head, and holding the body in, I suppose, a space that it can be allowed to open and expand. That's the basis behind it.
I know that's not your specialism.
No, not my specialism, but that's the
You're a feet
basis
woman,
behind it.
apparently, but you're good.
Feet,
You see,
yes.
that makes sense to me. You massage the ball of the foot, and something occurs. I can understand that, but I mean, do you ever get the feeling that some of the things you come across are quite simply a crock of manure? They're nonsense.
No, I think, well, I'm obviously very open to lots of different things, but no, I think
You
it
have to be
depends. It's
selective,
the intention.
but, yeah.
Well, I suppose it's the intention with most therapies is that the body is brought into a state of healing for itself. So it's about empowering the individual that they're able to take control of their own health and their own well-being, and allowing them time and space to do that with powerful intention from the therapist. And for me, I think that's the difference between where therapy, some people can go maybe to a therapist and have a really, really positive experience. Somebody can go to maybe another therapist and not have such a positive experience, but be there for the same purpose as such. So a lot of it really is to do with intention and the space that's held for.
I understand that. Sometimes I get to wondering, in all honesty, all this angel stuff. There's a lot of that around, and if it floats their boat, it's a very good thing, and let it be. But angels are dangerous. I think you need to be very careful, because if you believe that a pigeon's feather that is blown in your pathway that is going to influence your day, it's only a pigeon's feather that was going to land there anyway. Now, what sort of angels has pigeon's feathers?
Yeah, we could get into a long and hard. I have to say, I mean, angels would be a big part of what I do, but I think it's as much as anything, it's faith.
Yeah.
And it's.
Do you remember your angel prayer?
Oh yeah. I still say it every day.
You do not.
I do, yeah.
Shall I say it? Well, I might be able to say it.
Shall we say it together?
That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes. Well, I think this will bring back a number of memories for
Memories
a lot of
for
people.
you all.
Yeah.
O angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love commits me here. Ever this day be at my side, to light and guard, to rule and guide.
Amen.
Amen. Are you a nun?
Am I a nun? No, definitely not.
She's definitely not a nun.
Definitely not a nun.
But you're a very spiritual person.
But yes, I am.
Yeah.
Spiritual.
But spirituality is fun. And you know what's happening tonight? It's not cranium, whatever. But it's kind of in that territory. Well, it's not in that territory. It's the Alpha course.
The Alpha course.
And
yeah.
we're all right to tell him about the Alpha course. Kingsley Sutton, a wonderful man of the Church of Ireland.
Yes.
He's in Tesco, the Alpha course for Christians, or would-be Christians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. I've heard of it, and I've heard of a lot of people who've had very positive experiences with it. Don't know anybody personally.
So tonight in Tesco, between the washing powder and the pet food, you can have your, not quite, but in Tesco, 7 o'clock this evening, you can have your Alpha course. So well worth going. I'm going to go because I'm constantly exploring these things. And there's 2 questions that I really need answered at the beginning of the Alpha course. Herod, you remember that fellow?
Yes, he was there.
Herod was a war criminal. No, he wasn't. He had committed a crime against humanity. He slaughtered the innocents.
Yes.
But he was aided and abetted by God. Because what did God do? God lifts the phone and says to Joseph, Joseph, hightail it out of there, you, Mary, and my lad Jesus. Go somewhere else, because Herod's going to come and kill the millions, the thousands of children. Now, what sort of good God is it that phoned and said to his own people, get yourselves out of there, they're all going to be slaughtered, and didn't warn the others?
Didn't take everybody.
So Herod is the criminal against humanity, and God is an accessory before the fact. I'm not sure how they're going to answer that question.
No, I'm not sure how impressed
I couldn't answer that.
Be.
Could you?
No, definitely not.
It's
I think there are
conundrum.
certain things that we have to leave unanswered, aren't there?
Wow, that's the big cop-out. You're not a cop-out woman.
No, but there are things that we just can't understand.
We'll never
we
understand.
We have to accept
Yeah.
it. And I think sometimes our logical brain needs us to understand everything, but bar the very basics of physics, I mean, I don't really understand how electricity works, but I can use it every day.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you how electricity works. It's the movement of the electrons of the atom. In copper, the electrons, the atoms of the copper are all put together very loosely, so that if you shunt it, all the electrons go that way. And if you put a pressure on it to go that way, all the atoms in the copper going that way is electricity.
But yeah,
Don't ask me anymore.
Even on that, that's what I'm saying. You know, that's my basic understanding
Yeah.
from a physics point of view. But how that actually works, or how
I
email
don't know.
works, or
I don't know.
how there's so many things that we use on a daily basis that we can't quite understand exactly how they work,
Yeah.
but they work and we use them.
Is there the possibility that emails and all of electronic technology was beamed down to Earth by aliens maybe 30 years ago? Because this is beyond understanding. It's a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we don't know the answers to a lot. Well, I'm sure somebody somewhere maybe has an answer for it, but do we even know then that our answer's right? So we could.
No, we don't.
It's all what.
What's the most powerful therapy that you are aware of and indulge in and facilitate very often? You will on your program. What's the most impressive therapy that you know?
I suppose it depends. There's day-to-day, what I look at as day-to-day therapies that are very good for health and well-being and maintenance.
Such as?
Such as, I would say, I would let reflexology fall into that sort of category, that it's good maintenance. It can help with a number of conditions. But when it comes to deep healing, I suppose, I am a big advocate for a process called the journey.
The journey.
And it's a healing, it's a deep healing process. And it was devised by a lady called Brandon Bays, or not so much devised, but sort of streamlined and made popular by a lady called Brandon Bays. And for me, it's probably one of the most powerful deep healing processes.
Broad brushstrokes. What is this journey?
It is broad brushstrokes. Again, it's one of those things where you have to kind of trust and believe. But it's a process of tapping into what's inside yourself and getting in touch with emotions, maybe deep emotional experiences that we've buried somewhere along the line that are still having an effect on our health, our well-being, and on parts and aspects of our lives where maybe we're not able to get them to flow just as easy as
we carry hurt.
A lot of hurt. A lot of, I was reading an article yesterday and they were saying if somebody can be traumatized in 30 seconds and that have an effect on their life and on their health and on their well-being, certainly they can be healed in such a short space of time as well, in the right environment. So
sometimes it's not the physical malady. There are emotional maladies which come along.
Yes.
But even the physical, I remember when I was 20, catching a burglar in my house. My family I was a bit more than 20, maybe 23. They were over in Mum's house, and I heard the noise in the middle of the night. And I said, it's nothing. And within moments, I heard the footstep creak on the floorboard outside my bedroom door. So I opened the door and I shone my lamp and I illuminated this fellow with a hood there. And I reached and caught him and held him. And he said, I took control of the situation and got him downstairs, held him downstairs until the police came. When the police came and took him away, I discovered that he had ditched under my chair my bone handle camping knife that he had taken from a sheath in the kitchen. So when he had been up the stairs, he had the knife with him and had elected not to use it. Now, he got a 6-month sentence, suspended for 2 years. I still, and I'm now 70, waken early if the slightest noise. Yeah. So that's a physical thing. But I mean, there are things that have occurred in my life of an emotional nature which would, I know, have scarred me deeply.
Yeah. And more often than not, when someone's in physical pain, it has an emotional basis. There's an emotional reason behind it. Even if it's something as simple as a cold, where maybe that happens when the body's under too much pressure or the immune system's weakened because of stress or different things like that. And it might not be deep stress, anything particular to worry about. It might just be trying to get an awful lot done at a time when we should be resting. And you know, there's so much. Our emotions and emotional experiences shape so much of who we are, both physically and emotionally. And the journey's a means of getting in touch with that and releasing it. Yeah.
I suppose I have my own kind of journey in my own way. But I often think too that, you know, you have the story of the prodigal son who went away. And we know how the father welcomed him back. But there's a whole untold story there. The story of the father.
Yeah.
The effect the absence had on the father. The worries of the father. The losses of the father. It's all huge. It's
there's huge.
Lots of things going on.
And emotional experiences can be big, but equally as detrimental can be the small ones. So the time when you were shouted at in a classroom at school as a child, and whatever fear that struck in a child, or whatever, you know, a child may be very excited about a story and or telling somebody something, and then they're stopped in their tracks because they're shouted at. So we've got so many different emotional experiences that shape who we are. And
physically, these days, I've really sculpted out. I think sleep's very important. Getting good sleep. And I've taken now in the late afternoon to having a couple of hours. And that couple of hours, because I'm up, as you know, very early, coming in here, but the couple of hours enables me to have an evening.
Yes.
And then by 9:30, I'm going to bed again, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, to prioritize your own well-being, and this is what you're about in Try the Alternative, because if you're not looking after yourself, wherever you are in the world, then you can't possibly look after anyone else.
No, and that's,
you've got to be strong yourself.
And I know we're talking about the craniosacral, and I probably didn't do it as much justice as what there is there with it, but therapies are hitting more and more. And I mean, even just looking at, I know your show today, you've got the WellFit on, you've got yoga.
Yes.
Forbes magazine recently done an article on craniosacral therapy and how one of the big insurance companies in the States are backing it and saying really it is a therapy that everybody should be looking at having. So increasingly I think people are becoming more and more aware of the need to look after themselves, and certainly I hope that my age group, I mean, we're most likely, and the statistics say that we live somewhere between, you know, we're most likely to live at least 100 years on the planet.
Well, I'm the same.
And that's,
I would have a very confident and I'm of a different age group. But I mean, we are living longer, unless we're most unfortunate.
But I think it's quality. It comes back to quality, not quantity. So it's the quality of life in your years.
Yeah, you could get a sort of supercharged wheelchair. Well, go around like that.
Yeah, that's...
So who's this woman talking to you today about this?
It's a lady called Jane Shaw.
Jane Shaw?
Jane Shaw, and a very interesting lady. Jane practices and teaches craniosacral therapy.
Where does she do this?
She practices in Belfast, and the Belfast Chiropractic Clinic. But she teaches all over, pretty much all over the Western world. She teaches, so she's quite an expert in the
I wonder
field.
if that worries me a wee bit. She practices at the chiropractor clinic.
Well, it's a
because chiropractic is a very hands-on physicality, but cranial blah blah is a kind of magical thing.
Well, no, I think it was actually designed. Craniosacral therapy was actually, as a therapy, discovered or again streamlined. But I think somewhere in a region of about 150 years ago by an osteopath. So it has a very practical medical background, as you find with a lot of therapies. I mean, reflexology in itself was discovered by the assistant of an ENT specialist. So
ear, nose, and throat. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of therapies have their background quite well set, although as the paths diverge. But I think that's interesting in itself, in that sometimes people who are sort of ingrained in the medical world realise that there are limitations and that they can complement each other.
Oh,
It's
totally,
Not, it's not
totally.
one or other, but
No,
it's
no,
a
totally.
complementary path to
Yeah, complementarity
whatever else,
all the
but
time.
that there's
Yeah.
limits with everything. So whilst there's limits with holistic therapies and be it reflexology, Reiki, craniosacral therapy, whatever the therapy is, there's certain parts of us that can work on. Equally as well, there's certain parts that the medical world can work on. So
Okay, okay. We see you at 3 o'clock today.
3 o'clock today.
On Destination Newry. And there's some prayer in there as well, as Alison Krauss is now going to tell us, because she's inviting us to go down to the river to pray.
Well, I think it must be the day for praying.
Well,
we
we've
have our
done it
guardian
already.
angel prayer done already this
We're
morning.
doing fine.
Yeah, all good.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the